called as designer. Designer. This tool is basically to design an universe. I told you already, if you want to create an web report, ad hoc report, first you need to create an universe. There you need to make all hierarchies and then make a reports on top of universe. It will improve the performance. For creating an universe, in R3 there is a tool called as a designer. When you click on designer, it will ask you to enter your username password. It will ask you to enter your username password and then enter your username password. It will allow you to connect to universe. Once you connected with the designer, you can create a multiple universes. In the real time, I told you, this is server mission, there is a client mission. In the server mission, you have a BO server software. In the client mission, you have a BO clients. Always, if they requested to create an universe in R3, you just need to connect from your local system a tool called as a designer. That means once you install the client version of the BO software in your local system, start programs, business objects enterprise, you can see all BO clients. The designer is the one of your BO client for designing an universe. Once you connected with the designer, if you want to create a new universe, you need to go to file, new. When you click on file, new, it will give you steps for creating you need to follow the steps for creating an universe. In R3, for creating an universe, we have 8 different kind of steps. 8 kind of steps. I'll tell you what that 8 steps, what that are. Number 1 is, define parameters. Define parameters. What do you mean by define parameters? Once you connected with the designer, when you click file, new, it will ask you to give the name of the universe as well as connection of the universe. This we call as a define parameter. This we call as a define the parameters. The second step is, once you define the parameters, that means you gave the universe name and you created connection between your universe designer and your data warehouse. You created the connection between your universe and the data warehouse. Then you need to import required number of tables from data warehouse to universe for creating a report. Very next step is insert tables from data warehouse to universe. Insert tables. And number 3 is make joins. You just need to make a joins between the tables. And once you make a joins, in the table level you have a different naming conventions. But in the report they will ask us to give some other name. For example, see, you have a requirement to create a report with article label, year, quantity sold, amount sold. The customer is asking to put 4 columns in the report. Our requirement is, we want to create a report with year, model name, quantity sold, amount sold. This is our requirement. You just need to create a report with these 4 columns. That time what you need to do is, you just need to check where the columns is there in the data warehouse. When you talk about data warehouse, we have a multiple tables in the data warehouse. Who creates data warehouse in real time? The ETL guy will create a data warehouse. There we have a multiple tables and each table have a different columns. But our requirement is, we need a 4 columns. That 4 columns we need to check in the backend data warehouse. That time you need to see the backend data warehouse and see where these columns are there. Our year is there. For example, assume year column is there in the calendar year lookup. Model name means article label is there in the article lookup. And quantity sold, amount sold there in the software. For example, these 4 columns will be there in the 3 tables. But in data warehouse, there is 1,000 tables presented. But for our requirement, you need only 3 tables. The reason is, in our report, we need only 4 columns. That 4 columns there in the 3 tables. Instead of writing a report, instead of firing a query on entire 1,000 tables, create one universe, import these 3 required tables, eliminate all 997 unnecessary tables, and the later you need to make a joins between these three tables. Yes, you made a joins between these 3 tables. Very next step, you made a joins, and when you see the naming convention of the table columns is, unfortunately, in my calendar year I have a year column, but the name of the year is presented YR, but in the report they are asking to display as YEAR, and name of the model name is presented in article lookup table as article label, but in the report my customer is asking to display as model name. In report they are asking me to display quantity sold, but there I have some other naming convention table. My customer is asking to display as a sales revenue, but table it have a amount sold column name. That means you need to rename these columns according to the report requirement. But table level you cannot rename. The reason is, the table is created in the data warehouse. You can use the tables, but you cannot rename the tables. That is the case. What we need to do is, once we define the parameters, once we give the name and connection, and once you imported the tables, then you need to make a joins between the tables. Once you made a joins between the tables, very next step is, you need to resolve a loops. Sometimes, unfortunately, you will create multiple, you will take the 3 tables and you will create multiple joins between 3 tables. That will form a continuous path. In BO, you need to resolve that loops. Fourth step is, if you have a multiple joins, you need to resolve the joins, that loop, resolve loops. And fifth point is, once you resolve the loops between the tables, then you need to convert that columns as a naming conventions according to the report. For example, you have a column name YR. Report, the customer is asking to display as YEAR, year. That time you need to rename that column name according to the report requirement. That means you need to convert your table as a class, column as an object. Why you need to convert table as a class and column as object? In the table level you cannot change your column name. So that's why what we need to do is create a replica, means duplicate name for this table. Just you need to drag and drop into left side pane. Then it will create a class with the table name, object with the column name. Later you can rename the object name according to your report requirement. Classes and objects. And later, for defining hierarchy, you need to set up hierarchies. This is basically for dealings. Set up hierarchies. And seventh step is, whatever you created, you need to test it. Once you test it, you need to distribute that universe for the that universe for the report users to create a report. These 8 steps you need to follow for designing universe in R3. So that 8 steps I'll show you how to follow. First, in the defining parameters, I need to make the universe name. For example, I'm going to create a universe called as a sales. My requirement is, I explain, I'm going to create an universe for satisfying a requirement like this. When you see in the notepad, I want to create a report year name, model name, quantity sold, amount sold on top of my data warehouse. For satisfying this report, I need to create an universe between data warehouse and the reporting layer. My report cannot talk with the data warehouse. Now I'm going to create a universe to satisfy that requirement. Yes, if you want to satisfy the requirement, you know the report requirement. That report, anyway, you need to take data from data warehouse. Yes, if you want to create that report, you need to know about the data warehouse. You need to know about what is the data warehouse name, what kind of tables there in the data warehouse, and how to communicate from universe to data warehouse. These 3 steps you need to require from the ETL team. Yes, now assume I am a ETL developer. I am explaining you what is my data warehouse name, what tables I have. My data warehouse name is eFashion data warehouse, and there I have multiple tables. But your requirement, as per your report requirement, you need only 4 columns to satisfy in the report. That 4 columns are year, model name, quantity sold, amount sold. Then I am giving a KT for you. These 4 columns were there in 3 tables: article lookup, calendar year lookup, and soft fact. Now as per the requirement, first you need to connect with the data warehouse and import only 3 tables, then use these 3 tables for creating a reports. Yes, if you want to import the 3 tables into BO from data warehouse, you need to create a connection between your BO and the data warehouse. Now I'll show you how to create a connection. If you want to create a connection, you need to know username and password for connecting with the data warehouse. I'm giving username and password. My username and password is administrator India123 to connect with the data warehouse, and the data warehouse name is eFashion. Now I'm very clear. In the real time, you need to see the report requirement and see what columns there in the report. If you have a 10 columns, then later you need to take a KT from ETL team and compare your report columns with the backend tables and identify where this columns is presented. If this columns is presented in 5 tables, you just need to import that 5 tables into BO, and later you need to use only that 5 tables for creating reports. Yes, now as per our requirement, in our report, we need a year, model name, quantity sold, amount sold. I know the requirement now, and I had a KT with the ETL team. ETL team explained these columns will be there in the 3 tables there in the data warehouse. That 3 tables were article lookup, calendar year lookup, and soft fact. Now our next agenda is we need to import the 3 tables into the BO universe and make a joins between these 3 tables and reuse these 3 tables for creating a report. Now I'll show you how to create a connection between universe and data warehouse to import the 3 tables first. If you want to import or if you want to create a connection between universe and the data warehouse, you just need a data warehouse name, username, and password for the data warehouse to create a connection. I just gave my data warehouse name is eFashion, and username password for the data warehouse is administrator India123. Now let me create a new connection. Click on new, then it will take you into the connection wizard. Then click on next. Then it will ask you to give the connection name. I'm just giving connection name as sales underscore dev is my connection name. This connection I'm going to create for data warehouses which are created on top of access. For example, if you want to create a connection between your universe and Oracle data warehouse, you need to use Oracle drivers. If you want to create a connection between your universe and Sybase, you need to use Sybase drivers. If you want to create a connection between universe and DB2, you need to use IBM drivers. If you want to create a connection between your universe and the data warehouse which is built in SAP Business Warehouse, you need to use SAP Business Warehouse drivers. But fortunate or unfortunate, I have a data warehouse which is executing an Access, Microsoft Access, Microsoft databases. You can connect with the ODBC drivers, Open Database Connectivity drivers. That's why I selected ODBC. Why I selected ODBC? John sir? John sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, because it's an MS Access. Yeah.
Exactly. My data warehouse is executing on what? MS Access. If it is SAP, then what drivers you need to select for that? SAP drivers. If it is an Hyperion, you need to select Hyperion drivers. Okay, well and good. My data warehouse is executing on Access. That's why I selected ODBC drivers. That I hope you know. Then in the drop down, it lists out all the data warehouses there in the Access. I'm just selecting eFashion. That means data warehouse name I selected here. Then here you need to enter your data warehouse username, password. I told you my data warehouse username password is administrator India 123. India 123. Then test the connection. Why you need to test a connection? You just entered username password and you entered the data warehouse. That means you are trying to connect from the Universe Designer to data warehouse name called as a eFashion data warehouse. With what username? Administrator India 123. If you click test connection, it will test it whether you are able to ping the data warehouse from your Universe to the data warehouse. Yes. Now I click test connection. Yes, it's responding. The server is responding. Then you need to click on next. Again click on next. Again click on finish. You have defined your parameters. Done. Step 1 done. Defining parameters done. Very next step is insert tables. I know my requirement. I know where my columns is there. In the requirement analysis itself, I decided my 4 columns were there in article lookup, calendar year lookup, and soft fact. That means now you need to import article lookup, calendar year lookup, soft fact. If you want to import the 3 tables, once you click on defining parameters, you will be on the home page of designer. Now Universe Designer have a 2 tabs. When you see here, we have a 2 panes. The right side big pane is called as a structure pane. This pane they call as a structure pane. This pane they call as a classes and object pane. Very first step, once you created connection, very next step is you need to insert a tables from data warehouse to your Universe Designer. If you want to import the tables in the structure pane, you just need to right click. There you have a tables. Then now you can see all the tables there in the backend. As per our requirement, we need an article label. That article label is there in the article lookup table. Oh, that's why we need this table for satisfying our reports. For year column, yes, year column is there in calendar year lookup. Yes, I imported calendar year lookup. And I need a quantity sold and amount sold. That quantity sold and an amount sold is there in soft fact. Just import that soft fact. Yes, then close your table browser. That means you imported the tables according to your requirement. Remaining tables are eliminated. Later your report you are creating on these 3 tables so that you are improving your performance of reports. Unnecessarily you are firing a query on the data warehouse. Now you take a meaningful data. That means meaningful tables, 3 tables. Later you are using this 3 table as a source for our reporting. There's a way it will improve the performance. Okay, anyway, you imported these 3 tables. Very next step, you need to make the joins. I hope you know, as per the database rules, if you want to take a data from 2 or more tables, you need to make a joins between the tables. I'll show you how to make a joins. Then very next step, if you want to make a joins between two tables, the mandatory condition is two tables must have a common column and one column must be a primary, other column must be foreign key. For example, if you want to create a join between article lookup and soft fact, you need to check the common column between article lookup and soft fact. Yes, in article lookup I have article ID, soft fact I have article ID. Yes, you identified the common column between two tables. Very next step, one column must be primary key, other column must be foreign key. Then what is primary, what is foreign? Primary means unique and not null. For example, when you see the data of article ID, if you don't have any duplicates, that time it's a primary key. When you see the article ID in the soft fact, if there is a duplicate values in article ID, that we call as a foreign key. Now, for the testing, if you want to see data for article ID there in article lookup, you just need to keep your mouse pointer on article ID there in article lookup, right click, there you can see column values. In the column values you can see all the values there in article ID. Here you don't have any duplicates. When you see article ID there in soft fact, if you want to see the column values for soft fact article ID, you just need to right click on that article ID. In the soft fact, you need to keep your mouse pointer on article ID, right click column values. It will display that column values. When you see here, you have a lot of duplicates. So that means article ID in article lookup is a primary key. Article ID in soft fact is a foreign key. A foreign key. Now, I told you, if you want to create a join between two tables, the mandatory is two tables must have at least one common column and one table must have a primary key, other table must have a foreign key. Yes, now as per our testing, we identified there is a matching columns between article lookup and soft fact. The matching column name is article ID. Yes, article ID in article lookup is primary key. Article ID in the soft fact is foreign key. So comfortably I can create a join between these two tables. If you want to create a join, how you can create a join, you know, just keep your mouse pointer in the article ID of article lookup and drag and drop and hold your left mouse pointer and drag and drop and release your mouse pointer in the soft fact dot article ID. There's a way you can make a join. Or I'm lazy, I'm stupid, I don't have a time to identify where the matching columns is there, where the primary foreign key is there, but still I want to create a joins for satisfying my requirement. That is the case. What you need to do is you need to make the joins process. If you want to make the joins process, you need to go to File, Parameters, Strategies. In the join strategy, you need to make smart matching column names. Smart matching column names means you're just giving an instruction for the designer. Please create a joins between matching columns and primary foreign key. That means if you put smart matching columns there, the universe designer first check the matching columns between two tables. Later it will check if the column is a primary or not, or foreign or not. If it is identified two are matching and one is primary, another one is a foreign, it will make a join. If you want to make a join now, you made the strategy as smart matching column names. Then later if you want to create a joins, you need to go to Tools, Automated Detection, Detect Join. It will identify the joins, it will create a joins. You need not to use your brain. But you gave an instruction for the designer to create joins based on matching and primary foreign key. Where you give that instruction for the designer, you know, you give the instructions in the tab called as file parameters, strategy tab. You gave an instruction for system. Please create joins based on my instruction. The instruction what you gave for the designer is, please create a joins based on matching columns and primary and foreign key. The smart matching column means that strategy you define for the universe designer to create a join. Yes, you created the this what you call as you created the joins. Later, unfortunately, you got one more requirement. Customer is asking to display a data from product promotion fact also. Now my customer requirement is, customer is asking to display, to create and report, to display article label, quantity sold, amount sold, year, and as well as promotion cost. But fortunate or unfortunate, promotion cost is there in the promotion fact. That's why I imported promotion fact also. And again you need to create a joins. When you make automated detection, detect joins, this time it will detect multiple joins. This time it will detect multiple joins. Then once you see the joins, it make multiple joins. See, you have multiple joins now. In the automatic strategy, you created multiple joins. Now when you see you have a multiple joins here, but when you see you have a multiple joins between these two tables, it made a continuous path between this table. This case what you need to do is, it made a loop that you need to resolve a loop. If you want to resolve a loop, first you need to click on detect cardinality. It set the cardinality for all the joins. Cardinality means relationship 1 to n or 1 to 2. Yes, once it made a cardinality, you need to go to resolve the loops. If you want to resolve your loops, you need to go to tools, automated detection. You done joins, you done cardinality. Very next step is, if you want to detect the loops, you need to click on detect loops. Yes, there is a loop. It asking us to create a insert an alias. I insert an alias. Again it asks to insert an alias. I insert an alias. Again it asks to insert an alias. I insert an alias. Now it resolve the loops. That is a way you need to resolve a loop. Once you resolve the loop, very next step is, you need to make classes and objects. Later we'll see one by one step, but now I want to show few differences between R3 universe and R4 universe. If you want to make a classes and objects, why you need to make a classes and objects? When you see in my article lookup, I have an article label, but my customer is asking to display that name as a model name. When you see my calendar year lookup, there I have a YR, but my customer is requested to display this as YEAR. When you see my promotion fact, I have a promotion underscore cost, but my customer is asking to display this as a promotion cost. When you see your soft fact, there I have amount underscore sold, but my customer is asking to display that as a sales revenue. When you see this column name quantity underscore sold, but I want as a quantity sold. That means you need to rename these columns according to their requirement. But that renaming you cannot do in the table level. The reason is, this table is created by someone in the data warehouse level. You just import it to reuse for the reports. They don't allow us to modify the table in the universe side. They don't allow us to modify the column name in the table. But still we need a new name for this column to display in the report as per the requirement. If you want to rename that column name, what you need to do is, you just need to drag and drop the table into left side. This table also you need to drag and drop into left side. Once you drag and drop into left side, it will create a class name with the table name. See, When you see here, you have article lookup, but when you see here, the table name is article underscore lookup. Now article underscore lookup is converted as a class. That's why the definition of the class is a class is a replica of the table name. And when you see here, there is an object called as article space label. Here when you see the column in the table is called as article underscore label. Yes, but our requirement is we want to show this as model name. Yes, double click on that particular object. Here you can rename model, give the name as model name. But customer will see it object name as model name. But when you see the mapping of the object is mapping with the article underscore label. It is there in the article lookup. That means you just renamed this column name as model name. That model name you mapped with the article lookup dot article label. If customer is used model name in the report, the model name object will get data from article label. There's a way you can rename your column names according to your business requirement. That renaming column name you call as the object, nothing is there. That's why the definition of the object people says replica of the column name. Replica of the column name. It just replicates the column name there in the table, but with a new name. Same way, I have a quantity sold and amount sold, but my customer is asking to display this as a sales revenue. Please rename this as a sales revenue. But customer will see this as a sales revenue, but customer is taking data from where? Customer is taking data from softfact.amount sold column. But I just renamed according to my business requirement. Amount sold I am renaming as sales revenue, but customer in the reports they will see that as a sales revenue. But fortunate or unfortunate, in the table the name of the column is amount sold. When user clicks on sales revenue, indirectly it will take data from softfact.amount sold. Yes, I renamed according to their requirement. Quantity sold also I renamed according to their requirements. Yes, now I have all this. I need one more is called as a year. Y-E-A-R, year. That year is there in the calendar year lookup. Just take a calendar year lookup into this side. Once you take into this side, once you take the class into this side, the table into this side, it will display all the columns there in the table. I have a column name called as YR. I just need to rename this as a YER, year. But still the object YER is taking data from calendar year lookup.YR. Then click on apply, click on OK. Good. You created your class name with the table name. Class name with the table name. Yes, that is a way you need to rename the classes and objects as per the requirement. Why you created classes and objects? Nothing is there. The reason is customer want to see that column names with the different names. That time you cannot rename column name in the table. That time what we do is we'll just simply create a class name with the table name, object name with the column name, then we rename as an object. So now customer will see object name is equal to object name equal to table name table name not column name. So anyway that object is taking data from that column, but data is coming from the table, but customer will see with the different name. That's why you need a classes and objects. Very next step, set up hierarchies. Sometimes when you create a report in WebI, let me create a one WebI. I will explain later. Web Intelligence Rich Client. I am just opening a report called I'm accessing a tool called as a WebI Rich Client for creating WebI report. I'll explain you why you need hierarchies. Yes, I entered my username password. In real time, once you join in the company, in the real time, once you join in the company, The administrator create a user account for you. They will send a mail for you. You just need to use same username password for all the tools there in the BO. One username password for all the tools there in the BO. Yes, that's why I'm used that username password I got from my administrator. Now I'm connecting with the rich client for creating a new web report. Once you are there in the rich client, if you want to create a new report, you just need to click on create new document. And I'm just selecting a name called as universe as a data source. I'm just selecting one universe is called as a eFashion to create a report. Then when you click on OK, it will display all the objects there in that eFashion. I'm just dragging and dropping object name as year and sales revenue to create a report. Then click on run query. Then it will display the data for year-wise sales. And you know, customer will ask us sometime, yes, you are displaying year-wise sales, but give me a chance to navigate from year to quarter, quarter to month, month to week. When I click on year 2004, your report need to convert as a quarter-wise. There in 2004, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And again, when they select quarter 1, if they want to see month 1, month 2, month 3 data, that time you need to apply a drill on this table. When you apply a drill, the customer can navigate from high grain level to low grain level. The same way, if you want to navigate from high grain level to low grain level, you need to click on drill here. When you click on drill, it will add a hyperlink for the year. When you click on 2004, report is converting to quarter wise. And if the customer want to see 2005 quarters, they can see 2005 quarters. If again they click on quarter, it will go to month. Again, if they click on month, it will go to week. Why it's moving, you know? Why it's navigating from year to quarter, quarter to month, you know? Only you created the report with the year-wise sales, but customer can see your data with multiple formats. Why they can see, you know? The reason is, if you want to give a drilling feature for the customer, you need to make an hierarchies in the universe. You need to make an hierarchies in the universe. When you see this universe, I just open that universe. I'll show you how they created hierarchies. File, import, and I just created the reports on top of eFashion. I'm just importing that eFashion universe. I just want to show how they build this eFashion universe. Yes, I have eFashion universe. I have imported these all the tables based on my requirement. Later I make a joins between these tables, and I am creating a report based on time period class. There I have a year. First time I created report with what? Year wise sales revenue. That year wise sales revenue I created with the help of objects there in the time period class. See, year is there in time period, sales revenue is there in the measures class. When you see in universe, in the time period I have a year, quarter, month, week, holiday. That's why when I run a report, when I enable drill year, when I click on year 2004, then report is converting to quarter. The reason is why it's converting to quarter, you know. The order of the objects you arrange in the time period is year then quarter, year then quarter. That's why the report automatically move from year to quarter. That we call as a hierarchy. The order of the objects you arrange in the class will take as a hierarchy. That hierarchies is basically to drill down or drill up in the reports. If you change the order, see, unfortunately I changed the order here. I'm just changing the order from year to quarter. I just moving quarter to up. If you want to change, you can change the order of the objects. When you change the order of the objects, I'll show you how hierarchy will behave. See, let me change my order. I want to change the order here. I just changed the order. Let me take quarter into other side. I just make a year, then month, then week, then quarter. I'm just saving my universe. File, export. Okay, let me close that sales universe. Let me save this if as universe now, and file, export. Export. You are exporting the universe name called as eFashion to some folder there in the server. Later, I will create a report on top of this universe. File, new. I'll take same universe as a source. The universe name called as eFashion. Click on OK. Now it will display, see the order, year, month, week, then quarter. Then I am creating a report with the year wise, sales revenue. Run the query. When you run a query, you can see the data for year wise sales. Then you need to enable drill. Once you enable drill, you enable, then see. Now when you click on year, then tell me order of the navigation now. John sir. John sir, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now tell me the order of the navigation.
It will go to